welcome Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, respected Director General Sir, all the teachers, students to today's webinar, which is on Rethinking Agriculture Extension in Name of Farmers' Income. As we all know, agriculture extension is empowering system of sharing information, knowledge, technology, skills across agriculture and its subsectors. Agriculture extension has come a long way from food sufficiency in 1980s to doubling farmers' income nowadays. So today's webinar deals with this crucial subject. So now I would like to invite Dr. B. Krishnamurthy sir, Professor and Head, Department of Agriculture Extension, GKVK US Bangalore, and coordinator of today's webinar for welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sakshi. Honorable Vice Chancellor sir, the Director General, the Dean, all the extension professionals and PG scholars. It is my privilege to welcome our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. Rajendra Prasad sir, for this webinar program on rethinking agricultural extension in the name of the farmer's income. With all his busy schedule since from the morning, he has made it possible to attend our program also. On behalf of all of you and on my own behalf, I welcome him for this webinar. I welcome you, sir. And that my beloved, respected Director General, Dr. P. Chandrasekhara, the Manage Hyderabad. So he is the main speaker, the renowned speaker to today's webinar program. So I welcome him on behalf of all of you, and on my own behalf, I welcome you, sir. And our Dean Agri, Dr. Srinivasa, and all other officers of the university who are present over here. So I welcome all of you for this webinar program. And also I welcome all the extension professionals across the state, and also the postgraduate students from the different colleges, and KVK specialists from the different KVK. I welcome all of you for this webinar program. And with this, I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor to give their introductory remarks or the opening remarks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon to all of you. I hope everybody is free from Corona. Today, another program which is organized by the director of this extension department. I really congratulate them and thank them. First of all, the respected the Director General Norm, and also our whole alumni, and also my good friend and well-wisher, Dr. Chandrasekhara sir. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and be a part of this program. Thank you so much. And my colleague, I think Director of Extension, and all my officers are there. And also the Professor and Head, Dr. Krishnamurthy, and other faculty members. And the most important is our young generation students and young faculty. So once again, I would like to thank Dr. Chandrasekhar and also my colleagues for organizing this important program. You see, if you look at the achievements in terms of the agriculture developments, if you look at from the day one, in the sense from Green Revolution till today, and we are really blessed with the significant achievement we have made. So even day before yesterday, I read in the newspaper that the wheat production is going to be more than 106 million tons. So in the sense, this year it's going to be increased. That is one good thing. But at the same time, when they are reviewing the things, they also mentioned there is a reduction in the wheat yield in some of the parts, like Madhya Pradesh and also another area, that's Punjab. But you can also question how we can, this is because the area expansion in the Uttar Pradesh. So how it happened? Is that happened overnight? No. Whatever the achievements what we have made today in terms of food productions, in terms of the vegetables and other productions, milk productions, everything we are almost on the top. But to achieve this, there is a significant contribution from all fields, in the sense innovations, research, developments, and the efforts of the extension wing, who is the actually drivers of this, any achievement, in the sense the transfer of the technology. This is the most important things, because You develop the technology, but if it doesn't reach the farmers or our end users, I don't think it is a good exercise what you are doing. That way, this extension functionaries are the most important. You see, for the in a railway thing, all bogies are there, but without engine, you cannot. So, engine for our all the drive force is the extension activities. So here, if you look at our olden days and how the extension was working and what is the extension function in between and what is to be in the future. I think Dalwai Saab, almost 1 hour, 30 minutes. It was wonderful. I think it is available in YouTube. We can also share. We must thank Dr. Chandrasekhar organizing that program. So here we started, you see, Pam, this one, we in the university, we used to have this extension guides. They are going to the field and doing a lot of things. This is the history. Now that extension guides has been closed in many of the universities. And if you look at in the Department of Agriculture, they were running the Gram Sevak Sidhu, agriculture assistant Sidhu. And there used to be a good, communication system was there. Now that was replaced by, probably you are seeing the Krishi Vignana Kendras and also extension education units in the agriculture universities and RSKs in the in case of Department of Agriculture. So like that, the different structure or different models have been introduced. So these systems have been better. Can we compare these systems? Yes, really, there was an improvement, but still there is a lot of scope for improvement of this extension system or the strategy looking at the present scenario or the situation. Today, if you look at the farmers, what they want. See, when we were organizing this Krishi Mela and other things, I personally interacted with many farmers and other things. They always say, sir, your technology and other things are good enough to produce. So we are going to do it. But what is our problems bothering us today is the marketing and value additions. So in this regards, we are really need of lot of the extension functionaries which really make us to liquidate whatever we grow. So this is the kind of the perceptions of our farmers in the field. So this is the practical situations. Yesterday, I saw one thing in this WhatsApp and also the DD Doordarshan. One farmer, that's a new variety, that is a Kadri variety, groundnut has grown by him. But you see, the farmer who himself is little bit educated, not exactly, and you know how to use the WhatsApp and other things. And he has given the details about the product and also the advantage through a simple WhatsApp message, and he could able to sell all his groundnut produce to the neighbors, next villages and other things. Those who have purchased this one, they were expressing, sir, this is one variety which was giving good yield. This was given by the another farmer. See, without the knowledge of our extension functionaries, farmer himself has got the innovations and see that it should be liquidated or the transfer of the technology. Is one example. So that way, how under the present situations, what exactly the farmers need in terms of technology, in terms of services, in terms of marketing, whatever it may be. So that way, we have to fine tune our agricultural extension strategies. I hope that today the deliberations and the experts, so none other than our own alumni, Dr. Chandrasekhar, is going to deliver a wonderful lecture. So that will really help us, our younger generations, and also our students to design, develop the models so that will be useful in the end users. So during this process, I also think of certain, the groups, how we can make use of these groups, maybe self-help groups or these FUs. Can we take them as an extension function? The other one was, the matas. You see, sometimes what will happen because once I had been to one of the, Guruji has called me near Davanagere. So they asked me to address the farmers. Then I went with the two plants of this our varieties, that is jackfruit, that is Lal Bagh Madura, that was released from our university, just to gift to them in my vehicle. So during that time, I told about our university, and because a huge gathering was there, because Swamiji means, yeah, probably you imagine how many people are there. So that way, I was asked to address. Actually, they told about 10 minutes or 20 minutes, but I spoke almost 45 minutes with an examples how you can make use of this, technology or the things which is developed by the government and the private organizations with that plans I given. I'll tell you the impact what it has been done. My this one, after that meeting, we had this Krushi Mela, and on that day I announced 25th, 23rd to 27th we have the Krushi Mela. Please come and visit. There will be a gathering. And see, you can't believe. See, with the vehicle, the Swamiji organized a bus, and everybody came, and some people came by their own vehicle and purchased a lot of the seedlings and the seeds and this material which was useful. Why I'm telling the simple one thing which this is the mela where I did it. So that way, our strategies should be like that. Even in the FEOs, today we are selling the mango. We are the partners in the, we have adopted one FEO from the KVK Kola, where from university, and we are selling the product through the, some mechanism by using this, so many mechanisms we are selling. So as of today, we could able to sell from our own university only about 5 tons in 2 days. So this is what is happening, and this is one of the strategy we are adopting. So that way, so can we think of this, involving these cooperatives, self-help groups, FPCs, and all those things can be done. Then the most important thing it is headed by, our Dr. Chandrasekhar, Director General. The institutions like Manage, then Samiti, these functionaries they are using the trainers training. So here also, I wish there should be some modifications, or the method of training our people should be modified, looking at the present, the advanced technology which is available in the system, maybe ICT tools or any other mode or methodology. Even in the COVID system, how we can this extension functionaries to work to reach our customer. So these are, for instance, we have made everywhere and we are connecting the people. So that way, some innovative strategies has to be adopted. I think with a rich experience and the all kinds of the things which is handling day to day. Dr. Chandrasekhar is going to give us some kind of input. Another thing is also that the entrepreneurs and also women in the extension functionaries, how we can bring them. That is also one of the strategy. Why I'm telling, see, yesterday, we had one program workshop on women entrepreneurship in agriculture. Here, when we make this women entrepreneurship in agriculture, can we think of two groups? One is the, rural entrepreneurship, and also the urban entrepreneurship. Why I'm taking this as an example? See, when the woman rural entrepreneurship, they cannot, go to the service or some kind of things, or they cannot reach the market and other things. So that way, just can we have these two things, the rural and there how the extension functionary should function? Because this is one area where we can promote, because we are going for the secondary agriculture value addition products in our KVKs and other things. They are expressing, sir, we are producing and we are enthusiastic to produce some more to address in a large scale. In that case, can we connect? Can we have some extension functionaries to connect these people to the urban people through the urban entrepreneurship and other things? So these are some of the views which we would like to deliberate today. I think with the presentation by Dr. Chandrasekhar ji, so I'll be very happy to have you and see you again at this situation. Thank you. So with this, over to Dr. Krishnamurthy, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs. Now I would like to request Mrs. Veena Bhusheti, PhD scholar, Department of Agriculture Extension, to welcome today's resource person. Very good afternoon to everyone. Dr. P. Chandrasekhar, Director General, National Institute of Agriculture Extension Management, Hyderabad. He has professional in the field of agriculture with 30 years of experience and expertise in the areas namely agriculture extension management, agri-entrepreneurship development, agriculture marketing management, and public-private partnerships. From January to March 2021, he was the Director General, National Institute of Plant Health Management, Hyderabad, initiated National Network of Plant Health Management Experts. From November 2020 onwards, Director General, Manage Hyderabad, established Manage FPO Academy, initiated Seva Manage, and initiated National Network of Agri Journalists Manage. And from April 2018 to October 2020, Director General, CGS, National Institute of Agriculture Marketing, Delhi. Then September 2007 to March 2018, Director, Agriculture Extension, National Institute of Agriculture Extension Management. Then Director, Manage Center for Agriculture Extension Policy, Public-Private Partnership and International Center for Excellence in Agriculture Extension Management. Director, Program Management Unit, that is PMU, Feed the Future India Triangular Training Manage. Then Founder, Director of Center for Agri-Entrepreneurship Development, Manage responsible for implementation of Central Sector Scheme of Agri-Clinics and Agri-Business Centers. Then Program Director of Feed the Future India Triangular Training, founded by USAID and Government of India, covering 20 countries of Asia and Africa. Then organized international training programs, study visits funded by USAID, UNDP and Government of India, and worked for implementation of bilateral MOUs with 30 foreign countries, organized 610 national and international level training programs, then published 87 technical papers, including 24 books, made 9 films, and actively associated with several professional activities, executive editor of Manage Journal of Agriculture Extension, and editor of monthly Manage International e-Bulletin, initiated e-Bulletin Agripreneur, and voice of CCS NIAM, and chairperson of e-Bulletin Form to Fork. And he, recognizing the contribution of ISEE, presented Young Scientist Award in 2017, received Magnum National Honor Award 2011, Special Appreciation Award by Indian Society of Extension Education, received Dr. D.K. Mishra Memorial Award 2015, honored with Award of Excellence, and award Divang Mehta Education Leadership Award 2019, received Lifetime Achievement Award 2019, receiving Nittai Karnataka Bank Limited Lifetime Achievement Award 2019, worked in academic leadership role of innovation programs, namely PPP in Agriculture Extension Management, served as member Extension Group of Interministerial Committee on Doubling Farmers' Income, member Extension Group of 11th and 12th Plan Approach Paper of Planning Commission, Government of India, Vice President of International Society of Extension Education, New Delhi, Advisor, BioAgri Inputs Producer Association, India. Now, I welcome you too, sir.
Thank you very much. Namaskar to everyone. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. S. Rajendra Prasad ji. Thank you very much for this opportunity. See the presence of large number of senior officials of university, my teachers, other students. It's a great, privilege I feel, because I started baby steps in agricultural extension in this university. And all my 32 years of experience, I kept on experiment with around these baby steps only. And today I'm back to the same university with the gathered practical experiences. Out of the knowledge which I gained 32 years back. So it is my privilege to share all those experiences. I have a small presentation I will share with you. The adoption or acceptance by the farmers is directly proportional to the income implications of technologies or the extension services what we provide. This is the single truth I have experienced every day, in every program, in every project, in every schemes which we implemented within the country and outside the country. This is the truth I just, I would like to share with you. So once I realized this, fact, I kept on experimenting this with, different programs, projects, and throughout my presentation today, I will be sharing the major portion of the presentation comes out of my experience, and it is not a theoretical, the knowledge. So we will start with agriculture production. When we got independence, it was around 50 million tons. Today, anticipated production is going to be 303 million metric tons. So if you see different agriculture crops, it's going to, the yield is increased anywhere between 3 to 12 times. It's a big achievement of the credit directly goes to the farmers, scientists and extension functionaries. And horticulture story is no way different. You take fruits, vegetables, flowers, plantation crops and spices. Anywhere, between 3 to 6 times the yield increase in the past, 70 years. But what about income? If you see per holding, it increased from 22,000 during 83-84 because before that it's very difficult to get this information. Per holding income of the farmer during 83-84 was 22,000 rupees, and during 11-12 it is 81,753 rupees. It is by working out the current prices. But if you see the recent statistics provided by, of course, Hindustan Times, it is a technical article. The analysis is made based on NSSO as well as RBI data. 2012-13, the average monthly income of farmers by all land sizes, it is average 6,426 rupees. 2018-19, it is estimated 10,329 rupees. And if you work out per day income of a farmer's family, it is 344 rupees. Now you can understand why 76% of the farmers, if the alternative option is given, why they want to quit agriculture. Why we are talking about attracting and retaining youth in agriculture. So this is the main reason. I think this fact should be taken note very seriously by agricultural extension. Where this money is going? People say there is money in agriculture. I don't agree. There is no money in agriculture, but there is money in agribusiness. That is what I want to just prove here. If you take market margin of fruits, average fruit, if the consumer pays 22 rupees 80 paise, only 6 rupees 50 paise goes to farmer. That means around 25 to 27% of the money of a consumer, whatever he pays, it goes to the farmer. Rest around 75% is going to aggregators, wholesalers, retailers. The story is not different with vegetables. If you pay an average around 13 rupees per kilo of vegetable, only 4 rupees 10 paise goes to farmer, whereas the rest of the money, it's around 25% again, and rest of the money is going to aggregators, wholesalers and retailers. It clearly shows that this 4 rupees 10 paise, it includes his cost of production also. So this is the pathetic story of farmer gain out of agriculture. So it's very important to shift our attention from production to processing and marketing in order to get more benefit for the farmers. If we are not doing that, I don't think any farmer will accept any of our advisory other than this. I'm just taking, another example, last example of a large cardamom. Farmer, he sells for 1,460 rupees per kilo, whereas the consumer purchase for 2,010 rupees. So in between 700 rupees is changing the hands of local trader, wholesalers and retailers. The big question is whether our farmers can't do this, what local trader is doing, what wholesaler is doing, and what retailer is doing. That is the reason we are talking about market-led extension. That is the reason we are talking about linking farmers to the market. Now, that is the reason why Doubling Farmers' Income Committee, they revisited the very definition of agricultural extension. There is a total shift from transfer of technology. The revised agricultural extension definition, as indicated in Doubling Farmers' Income Report, is an empowering system. It is empowerment. It goes to the basic proverb which we study in agricultural extension. Don't give fish, but teach him fishing. This is what empowerment is. Empowering system of sharing information, knowledge, technology, skill, risk and farm management practices across agricultural subsectors. It covers animal husbandry, it covers horticulture, fisheries, all along the agriculture value chain, not only for production, but also for processing and marketing, so as to enable the farmers to realize higher net income from their enterprise. Higher net income from their enterprise, I want to underline this, on a sustainable basis. It is not for one crop, not for one season. Agriculture should be profitable. And that is what the very purpose of agricultural extension. This is what the total paradigm shift in which the way we are understanding the agricultural extension. Now, if you go to farmer, what kind of information they want and whether we are providing that kind of information, there is a huge gap. You ask farmer, they want details on ongoing central and state government programs, where facilities are available, where loans and subsidies are available, which information is not provided by our system. Market-oriented information, which is the nearest market, what is the commodity price, in different markets on a real-time basis, are we providing? We are not providing that. Agribusiness companies providing specialized services. We are talking about high-yielding varieties. We are talking about biofortified crops. We are talking about solar farming. Are we providing all this information in which agribusiness companies play a very important role? We classify all the information as private information and public information. We focus more on public information rather than which is profitable to the farmer, irrespective of the source. If contract farming is benefiting, are we telling about contract farming? Are we promoting? How to establish? Honorable Vice Chancellor was emphasizing on Farmers Producers Company. But the simple question, whether our extension worker knows what is the procedure for registration of Farmers Producers Companies, how to promote Farmers Producers Company and make them sustainable social entities. How we can link them to extension, credit, infrastructure, value addition and market. How we can promote farm mechanization. Can we create more para-technicians in village so that they repair the tractors, they repair sprayers, or they can develop local machineries which can help farmers to enhance the efficiency. Water is a scarce source. How to use water efficiently. Pest management, 30 to 40%, the income loss takes place through pest and disease infestation. How to manage that. Credit facilitation, this is very, very important. If we are not giving education, this education through our extension, our input dealer is already there, money lenders are already there in the villages, and all the gains you make in enhancing the production, and we lose because we fail in credit facilitation. Grading, sorting, packing, branding, these things are very simple primary processing activities which can be done in the backyard of the farmer, but they are not doing it because the extension focus is not on this. Agriculture logistics, who transport our products, and we are talking about exports, but what are the procedures? Who purchase, which country, what quantity? And we are talking about agri startups, whether these agri startups are blended with farmers producers organizations. Organic products, good agriculture practices, and storage structures, farm management practices. Most important, income generation through not only on-farm, but also off-farm, non-farm activities. We want farmers to sell their produce, but where are the marketing skills? Where to sell, whom to sell, how to sell, advantages of direct marketing, ENAM, how to popularize that, how to make use of ICT in our extension, how we can address the risk management, public-private partnership opportunities. When the farmer is in distress, crisis, how we can provide psychological counseling. Otherwise, easily they surrender, the farmer suicide. We are all aware about this. Redressal of grievances may not be directly related to farm, but how to get a electricity connection for his pump set, which decides his irrigation, in turn it decides his production, productivity and income. Climate change is the unfelt need of the farmers, but very much required for this globe. So how to ensure that? And farmers, because of social media, mass media, their aspirations levels are very high. How we can meet their aspiration levels? And many urban people, qualified people, and they are interested in capital intensive agriculture. This group demands are different. How we can attract these people? How to promote intensification, diversification? These are all, some of the areas which our farmers want information, which our mainstream agricultural extension is not providing, or we are providing in bits and pieces, which is not sufficient. So meeting all these, new challenges, broadening the extension perspective is very important. What kind of changes we want in extension? Number one, we are in the midst of social media, mass media, several information sources which influence the farmers. Therefore, efficiency of extension has to be ensured at every stage. What we want to say, that has to reach the farmers. In between, distortion should not be there. That has to be minimized. Effectiveness of extension. I think it is the better way of integrating our extension methods to enhance the effectiveness. It should be cost effective. Most important, it is on a real-time extension. For example, if you want to educate farmers on cyclone, on flood, on market prices, on other weather parameters, on pest and disease forecasting, real-time extension is very, very important. Are we ready for this? Is a bigger question. Location-specific extension. So we have 127 agroclimatic zones. We cannot give a very generic extension. Even within agroclimatic zone, we have agroecological situation. Therefore, the local extension worker, he has to interpret the broader recommendations for the local needs, and he can convince the farmers. Are we doing that? Integrated and inclusive extension. It has to cover agriculture, horticulture, animal husbandry, and many other income generating sources in the farming system. And also, whole family approach, what we talk in extension. It should address, gender issues, rural youth, agricultural value chain extension. This is the major shift I am looking for. Harvest, post-harvest technologies, market related information. It should cover more of our extension activities. And risk management is another important area. Sustainability, ensuring health and nutrition, it will add a lot of value to extension. And building capacity of extension functionaries is another important activity of extension, because we cannot reach all the farmers. We have to reach through extension workers. Therefore, empowering the extension worker to empower the farmers, this point becomes very, very important. Now, just I am summarizing what are all the things I spoke. Number one, it has to be group-led extension. Promote self-help group, farmers interest group, producers companies, farmers producers organizations, and food security groups. Call anything, but promote group. I think that should be one mantra. The second one is market-led extension. We have to provide necessary tools and techniques for the farmers, how to explore local market. That is the first step before going to the export, which normally people talk. But how to explore local market, local customers, local restaurants, local markets. So this is very important. The third thing is how to use the technology in our extension. We have less number of extension workers. For 1,19,000 extension workers, we have, if you work out the ratio, it is 1,132 extension workers for every farmers. We have one extension worker. So practically it is difficult. Therefore, ICT tools should be given in the hands of extension workers and in the hands of farmers. Agripreneurship-led extension, we need to introduce more and more agri startups, agripreneurs, and qualified people, so that they will be the guide post for farmers in enterprising agriculture. We have to bring public-private partnership in a big scale in agricultural extension, so that the burden on public extension will reduce. And as a matter of convergence, synergy, I think public-private partnership can deliver better. These broad guidelines, they are adequately addressed even at the national level also. You heard Honorable Prime Minister when he unveiled Atmanirbhar Krishi last year. He touched upon 4 important aspects. Number one, doubling farmers' income. It has to happen at farmers level. It happens only when the farmers is transformed into an entrepreneur. Number two, doubling agriculture export from $30 billion to $60 billion. So we need groups, we need infrastructure, we need adequate awareness and linkages for doubling the export, and making agriculture attractive so that investment flows into agriculture. Infrastructure is created, services are added, so that agriculture become enriched. And the last one is Make in India brand. Even it is applicable to agriculture. I think that brand has to be built. With these 4, the Honorable Prime Minister talked about Atmanirbhar Krishi. Now, not mere, the announcement, but they were converted into act. And I think we all are aware about what are these acts. Now, I just, touch 1 or 2 important points of Trade and Commerce Act 2020. This act talked about the ease of doing agriculture marketing by farmers. But what is the difficulty? Why we are talking about ease of doing, agriculture marketing? Number one, all the farmers need not sell only at APMC. They can sell outside also. That is what more and more marketing opportunities and freedom is created under this Trade and Commerce Act. There is no market fee and there is no restrictions on interstate, intrastate movement of agriculture commodity either by farmers or by traders, and instant payment and instant dispute resolution mechanism. All these things are kept in a Trade and Farmers Act, so that this will enable the farmers, group of farmers, venturing into harvest and post-harvest areas, so that more benefit income flows into the hands of the farmers. The second important, act passed by the Parliament is this is Contract Farming Act. You see, one of the biggest problem is who will purchase our food grains, fruits or vegetables. After harvesting, we start, and we have to sell at throwaway price, because normally during the harvesting period we see the glut and traders take the opportunity. Why not farmers getting into the trade, or have some kind of agreement on quality, quantity and price before, at the time of sowing, so that uncertainties are not there. So in order to have a perfect market, assured price for the farmers, this Contract Farming Act was passed. And Contract Farming Act says there is an agreement between the farmers on one side and the sponsorers on other side. Who is the sponsorer? The sponsorer is the person who purchased from the farmers, and he may export, he may use it for processing, or he may go for trading, but he want in large quantity and assured quality, and he is ready to give the price for that. So this is a need for farmers because they want a assured market, need for sponsors because he wants a assured quality and quantity and the price. So it creates a win-win situation. Are we promoting contract farming? Is it reflected in our day-to-day extension activities? Whether it is part of job chart of our extension worker. So this is the bigger question. In order to empower our extension worker, we need to teach them how to work out a good contract farming. Probably the awareness is increasing. I am sure that more and more capacity building activities will take place in this particular very important area. So the government not only passed the act, in order to support the act, it also launched several schemes, and it is the responsibility of the extension system to tell farmers, look, this is the privileges we are getting from the act, and also we have certain schemes where we can take the benefit of loans and subsidies for creating infrastructure, for linking to the market. So this is one of the important, the scheme launched by Government of India. Farmers Producers Organization, 10,000 Farmers Producers Organizations will be promoted. I wish someday 10,000 Farmers Producers Organization, they will at least sign 10,000 contract farming agreement. I think that is the day we can see a glorious agriculture. And that is the direction in which our extension has to work. And for that, empowering extension system is very, very important. Now, why we need Farmers Producers Organization? Whether we want to buy bulk inputs from input companies, whether it's seed, fertilizer, or to have a custom hiring, or for value addition, or for other income generating activities, aggregation, or agriculture logistics, or marketing. I think these groups play a very important role. Overhead cost will come down and the farmers can make more benefit. And in the first few slides, we understood how much our local traders, wholesale commission agents, and retailers are making money. The entire profit margin goes to the hands of the farmers, provided we promote Farmers Producers Organization. This should be one of the important priority of our extension worker. I think the target should be given at district level, at block level, at individual extension worker level for promotion of Farmers Producers Organization. This is very, very important. A lot of benefits are created. There is a financial support of 18 lakh rupees, equity grant up to 15 lakhs, credit guarantee facility up to 2 crores, training is given, priority is given in around a cluster and in aspirational districts, in backward areas and hilly areas. Many more things are there. It's very important to promote farmers producers organization. Now we need agriculture infrastructure, especially in rural areas. If you want to store agriculture commodity, do we have warehouse? Do we have cold storage? How these commodities are stored. One part of the family in their residence, the farmers are storing this for a short time. Afterwards anyway, the local dealer will come and he purchase the same commodity. There is no warehouse or cold storage facilities available at rural areas, drying yards, agriculture logistics. For all this purpose, the provision is made in Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, where 1 lakh crore is available. Now the government is requesting every cooperative society, every farmer producer organization to come out with a clear-cut plan so that they can take loan up to 2 crore rupees, where credit guarantee is available, interest subvention up to 3% for 7 years. It's all money can be used for all this facility creation. You can see here, read here. This is everything about harvest and post-harvest facilities where we lack in the rural areas. For precision agriculture, smart agriculture, for export clusters, for creation of assets on the public-private partnership mode, and the assistance is provided by local banks. I think this information taking to the hands of farmers producers organization, facilitating them, enabling them to get the benefit of this kind of schemes, it plays very, very important role of agricultural extension. Are we doing it? Is a bigger question. Now, if all the supports are provided, probably over a period of time, we can see very prosperous farmers producers organizations like this. For example, Sahyadri Farmers Producers Company in Nasik, their turnover is around 354 crores and it is only 10 years old, and around 8,000 farmers are members. And Devbhoomi Natural Products in Uttarakhand, their turnover is around 28 crore rupees, where majority of the members are farm women. The Honorable Vice Chancellor was telling it's very important to address gender issues. So this is possible only when we promote farmers producers organization. In group, in unity, they get empowerment. Their voice is heard. Now, marketing plays very important role. When NIAM as Director General, I initiated a few research projects, and by using student interns, these student interns brought very valuable data back to NIAM. I just wanted to explore, suppose our farmers sell their produce to the local midday meal program, how much the government will get benefited, and on the other hand, how much our farmer will get benefited. You see, this data was collected in Tirunelveli district in Tamil Nadu, in one village, and the data shows that the farmers definitely get benefit, additional benefit, by selling his produce to the local school which is cooking for midday meals. At the same time, government can also save a lot of money. I have given the data. Now, every day 12 crore children are taking the food. 1 lakh crore is invested every year, 60% from Government of India and 40% from states. This 1 lakh crore directly it can go for agriculture marketing, where it can create market for local market for the farmers' produce. Logistics, overhead cost, wastages, everything can be stopped by creating this opportunity. The second opportunity, what I am seeing is, large number of function halls are coming, marriage halls are coming around, the villages. In India, every year, 1 million marriages takes place actually. So even in, pandemic situation, in spite of all the restrictions, they say we call only 50 people, but, if you go and see there, you find 500 people. See, it is part of our, social DNA. So around, on an average, 5 lakh rupee is spent on every marriage. 40% goes for, procurement of food, commodities, and expenditure on the food. And we collected this data from, Arsikere Taluk in Hassan district, Karnataka, by in a nearby function hall. If the FPO is linked to nearby function hall, we clearly, identified that farmers make additional profit by selling to the local function hall. On the other hand, local function hall, they get fresh produce, and without, much price fluctuation, they can have a pre-agreement with the farmers. It create a win-win situation for function halls as well as the farmers. Large number of SC, ST and OBC hostels are funded by government. We collected data from Narsinghpur district in Madhya Pradesh, and it clearly shows that on left hand side, how farmers get profit. It between 37% to 75%. On the other hand, hostels also save a lot of money. It is a win-win situation again for government as well as for the farmers. So this is another local market which is available for us. I think with the help of district administration, deputy commissioners, collectors, I think there is point in experimenting this local produce. This is very, very important. We have 904 universities, and every university we have our big hostels where thousands and thousands of students are staying. Daily they need tons and tons of fruits and vegetables, and this is what the study we conducted at Punjab Agriculture University clearly indicate. The farmers get assured market, whereas the hostel they procure at lesser price, and so that the students financial burden on the students will come down, but farmers will get assured market. So these are all different models, but this can be negotiated. Now, another important issue we are trying to address in agricultural extension is how to attract and retain rural youth. One of the NSSO survey says, given the alternative opportunity, 76% of the farmers are ready to quit agriculture and shift to another profession. This is a very dangerous finding. We all know, but this figure really make us worry. So in Manage, we were thinking how we can create a comfortable working opportunities for rural youth. So if you want to create self-employment opportunity for rural youth, I think a consortium approach is very, very important. Just by giving training, things will not happen. Just by giving loans, we cannot create entrepreneurs, and probably they will fail. Or without these two, just somebody start doing business, that is also inadequate. Therefore, what we did, in Madhya Pradesh, with the help of Manage gave the training, Syngenta gave the seed money of 30,000 rupees. IDBI Bank later came and gave some loans to rural youth. Pradhan, in NGO, it helped linking rural youth to the the farmers. And Smart Steps is a mentoring organization which provided handholding support to these rural youth. Because we 5 organizations work together, we could able to see just slightly more than 50% of the success rate. You can just imagine, if it is a half-hearted effort, I don't think we can create any impact. And that is the reason why majority of the self-employment programs in rural areas are failing. These are all the details, but I don't want to After 1 year, we called all these entrepreneurs and we made them to interact with very successful agripreneurs in the field, so that they can share their success stories, they can inspire them, they solve their practical problems. That was a wonderful exercise. Therefore, what I am trying to tell is consortium approach is one, and individual handholding support to this rural youth is another. These two things play a very important role in success of this rural youth making little money out of their activities. Otherwise, they get more and more disappointed, and it is the responsibility of agriculture extension to prevent this kind of disappointment, especially among rural youth, because they are the future. So these are all, some of the activities along with this rural youth. Another important thing, what we tried, all the rural youth, sons and daughters of the farmers, they are not interested in starting their own business. They were asking, you give us 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, some job in rural areas, we will be very happy. We stay at home and work for that. So we prepared another program of that kind. We did a pilot study in Telangana in a KVK called Jammikunta. We designed a 45 days basic agriculture course, and we thoroughly screened rural youth, and only the interested people we took. And at the end of 45 days, we called some of the agribusiness companies, and they gave placement offer to all these trained people. The average, the salary was between 7 to 8,000 rupees. These rural youth were very, very happy because they could stay in their native place, native village, stay in their own home and earn 7 to 8,000 rupees. And it is a seasonal work, and they were very, very happy. But still this youth remained in agriculture, doing their own family, continuing agriculture also. So this is very, very important to create this kind of, employment opportunities for rural youth who are interested in some kind of white collar jobs. In agriculture also we can create. These are all some of the examples. Okay, see, this is the program, very interesting program. They're all our sons of our farmers. On the day we selected and launched the program, after 45 days, I think you can see the tremendous the transformation which took place among the same people, because on 45th day they have their placement orders in their hands. And as an extension worker, I was very, very happy for leading this program. Later we repeated 5-6 programs in Andhra Pradesh, in Tirupati and in KBK Jammikunta. In all the programs we could able to achieve 100% placement. I think this kind of activities will retain our youth, attract more and more people to agriculture. The third category, 80,000 agriculture graduates are coming out of agriculture universities. All the students are not getting jobs in agriculture sector. Maybe 20% of the students are getting jobs, and the rest of the people either go for higher education or quit the field and go to somewhere else, but their services are underutilized. When we spend more than 5 lakh rupees on every agriculture graduate, it's very important to retain them in agricultural extension, so that we can see the prosperity. So Government of India, realizing the importance of this unemployment among agriculture graduates, launched a program during 2002. I had the opportunity to lead this program for nearly 1.5 decades, and we could able to train 74,520 students. It is being implemented by Manage with the help of 141 nodal training institutions across the country, and we could able to establish 31,351 agri-ventures in different parts of the country. You can see every state there are trained agriculture graduates and established agri-ventures. So they established AgriVentures in 32 categories of activities. You take any income generating activity which benefit farmers by providing service. These agriculture graduates, they started. They brought innovation. They created infrastructure. They created awareness among the farmers. They started input selling shop, agri-tourism units, animal feed unit, biofertilizer production, contract farming, medicinal plants. So custom hiring, fishery development, landscaping, nursery, value addition, and even soil testing laboratories, veterinary clinics, godowns construction, biocontrol agents production. And some people started their own agriculture magazines, newspapers, sericulture, mushroom, beekeeping. So these are all the added activities which generate additional income to farmers, and it provides self-employment opportunity to agriculture graduates. This is wide range of activities. I think it is practically impossible for any government to fill all these gaps, but by encouraging agriculture graduates to establish this kind of agri-ventures, we can fill infrastructure gap, service gap, credit gap, technology gap, which is bothering agricultural extension and farmers. So I think agriculture universities, it becomes prime responsibility to support this kind of program. I'm sure that UAS Bangalore will make note of it and give highest priority for implementation of this program. So these are all website. You will get more information. I just want you to see each success story. How many farmers are served by these entrepreneurs? How many people they created jobs, and what is their turnover? All these are 5 years, 6 years old data, but I want you to see they're all crorepathi's and they are in agriculture. They are all agriculture graduates. Only thing, they transformed agriculture into agri-business, and that is the language even our farmers wants extension system to speak. Nilesh Vasikar Pune, he makes films and serving large number of farmers. Akbar Ali from Andhra Pradesh, he is serving fishery farmers, and turnover is more than 1 crore. Sangeeta is supporting biofertilizer, biopesticides in Vidarbha, and turnover is more than 1 crore. Selapannu from Shivganga in Tamil Nadu, and she is serving more than 3,000 farmers. She created job for 6 people and turnover is more than 2 crores. Soibam Surchandra Singh, and he is promoting Pengba fish, cooperative farming, and he is serving 1,000 farmers. You just imagine, you create one agripreneur, agriculture graduate as well, agripreneur. He supports thousands of farmers. That is what the function of agricultural extension. We need to create more and more agripreneurs out of agriculture graduates. So this is in Vijay Bharat Mobile Agriculture School in Jharkhand, and this is handicrafts made by one Kabejyoti Bora in Assam out of water hyacinth. It create a lot of rural women employment. And Gajendra Bomania is in dairy breeding services. He employed 300 people. Of course, Dr. Choba Devi is one. And Chankeshwar Sharma is from Bangalore, and his turnover is more than 1 crore doing contract farming. And Subramani is also from US Bangalore. He is into red dwarf papaya development, and his turnover is also good, serving good number of farmers. Integrated farming by Rajkishore Sinha from Nalanda, and he showed that in a small piece of land, by diversification, you can make more money. One Raju from Chitradurga, his turnover is more than 50 crores. He is into farm mechanization. So let's come to impact. Our extension functionaries, extension system need to promote private extension service providers like our agri-clinic and agri-business centers. If we support, the impact on the yield of farmers is 17.4%, impact on income is 28.8%. 1.71 lakh persons are employed by these agri-clinic and agri-business centers, and they invested 1.14 lakh into agriculture. This is huge, impact, in a small area wherever they are serving, they are making. So the moral of the story is we need to promote more and more agriculture graduates to start their own business. Universities play very, very important role in that by giving according highest priority. Okay, these are all what we should do. I think, banks, the nodal training institutions, even the family, use of technology, and a sound training. These are all the things which play a very important role in this. In recently, on 13th of May this month, Manage signed an MOU with NABARD and the State Bank of India for supporting agripreneurs in Telangana. We are going to establish anywhere between 700 to 1,000 agri-clinic and agri-business centers in different forms. So we have NABARD to give subsidy, we have SBI to give loan. These kind of agreements can be executed by universities, nodal training institutions, and agriculture department also, so that it gives a lot of additional support for entrepreneurs. Another important sector which we all have to promote is agri startups. Manage is the knowledge partner, and we are also supporting large number of agri startups by giving a grant in aid ranging between 5 lakh to 25 lakh rupees. Of course, NIAM is also managed partner. As DGI promoted large number of agri startups in NIAM platform also. So these are all some of the, if you promote agri startups, they come with a lot of innovation which can solve some of the existing problem. See, wherever water is a problem, they just change the water jet actually. This is agri rain. Basically, it deals with hose reel irrigators. They change the design which use less water for irrigating more area. This is vertical farming suitable for urban areas, and this is farmer obedient pump controller. Remotely, you can control the water pump. And Samudra is a digital FPO services. Everything in FPO can be handled digitally. And drones, use of drones in agriculture. And based on the micro climate, how we can support agriculture using IoT. And these are all using solar power in agriculture engineering. This is a cloud-based custom softwares adopted by state government using blockchain technology, artificial intelligence for providing value-added services, and even linking farmers to market. Then even veterinary graduates are providing value-added services through this thing. So these are all some of the agri startups. This is another area where you can support. Another important area for agricultural extension is public-private partnership. Public-private partnership, we have to create working models for large number of public-private partners, private extension service providers existing in agriculture sector. What kind of, these are all basic guidelines. We did a pilot project in Hoshangabad district in Madhya Pradesh, and it got a National Productivity Council Award for 3 years, consecutive 3 years. This, we worked out an MOU between Agriculture Department and Dhanuka Group of Pesticides, how these two provided jointly extension services to farmers. So I think the similar PPP models we have to develop between FPO extension system, cooperative extension system, agripreneurs, agri startup, and especially input dealers. See, we are conducting large number of DESI program, diploma in agricultural extension services for input dealers, and we can strike deal with them. Then agribusiness companies, NGOs, print and electronic media, social media, private banks, and ICT service providers. A large number of private extension service providers are there. I think it's very important to work very closely with them. Otherwise, I don't think public extension system will be effective for from the farmer's point of view. Now, in Manage, we are also promoting a large number of innovations. So these are all some of the innovations we are promoting. National facilitators, watershed guidelines were developed. First time in the country, agribusiness program was started during 1996. Atma concept was born in Manage. Cyber extension is promoted from Manage. Then Agri Clinic scheme is implemented. Desi scheme and agricultural extension management. It is a distance education program. We are also promoting market-led extension, PPP models, and livestock certified farm advisor, livestock advisor. This is a one year super specialization. For example, we are developing fruit specialist, vegetable specialist, goat or sheep specialist. It is not very generic people. They are the specialist extension worker through 1 year program. And on MOOCs platform, large number of programs are being implemented, and we also have incubation. Of course, we have 10 academic centers, and each one deals with very important aspect of agricultural extension. For example, extension policy, innovation, reforms, entrepreneurship, capacity building of agri institutions, marketing, allied sector extension, ICT application, nutritional security, urban agriculture, climate change, and sustainable agriculture, agribusiness management. These are all, some of the emerging areas which are promoted by, Manage. Of course, our reach is, huge. In each program, we are reaching, anywhere between 5,000 to 75,000 people across the country. And at any given point of time, thousands of different stakeholders are undergoing training. These are all important concepts. We are training qualified agriculture graduates through Agri Clinic program and skill training for rural youth. This is implemented through our samitis, and university can also make use of this, but you have to approach through samiti. So large number of people are just trying. Of course, we started for retired professionals. We created a extension service platform called Seva Manage, and this is a TED talk like Manage Krishi Gandhip Knowledge Lecture Series we have introduced, and a national network of agriculture journalists is functioning. Manage established a FPO Academy to give more focus, and any private sector person, if they want to develop a project in coordination with Manage, we created Project Facilitation Center. International webinars are conducted to highlight some of the important research institutions, and the student internships are promoted. We are trying to involve soldiers in agriculture. Best MSc and PhD thesis award, best book in agriculture award, extension award we have instituted. And Agri Startup Idea Bank, Agri Film Festival will be, this year we are going to be organized, and Corporate Social Responsibility Knowledge Platform. So lastly, Vice Chancellor was telling, it is very important to use the potential of farm women. One of the most successful farm women involving extension program, which aggregated all the farm women, imparted skill to farm women in different on-farm, off-farm, and non-farm activities. Very important, even non-farm activities, but they generate income, they support their family and agriculture in turn also. And mostly they are involved in value addition and sales, marketing of agriculture produce. Therefore, middleman is eliminated. So this one most successful program, I think we in letter and spirit in extension we have to promote. So I just run through the series of they are taking land on lease wherever the owners are not cultivating. They are giving some money to owners, at the same time ensuring food security. Nurseries, food processing, biopharmacy, pickle manufacturing, mother kitchen. They're running rural transport services, catering, construction unit. They're running daycare centers, flexi printing unit, whichever is needed by the society, they are in a position to give. I think in extension, one of the basic principle is whole family approach. You can see here how the farm woman is involved, how their time is utilized for a income generating activity. At the same time, they are also providing services to the society. They are running working woman hostel, housekeeping nearby, established units, ironing units, IT units, mineral water production. They are running restaurants, napkin production, Nutrimix. They gained the skill in painting, paper plate manufacturing, entertainment groups. They are running taxis, cloth bags, weaving. They are also running drama troops, hollow bricks, catering units. In COVID-like situation, this trained, paramedical professionals, they are going, checking for, blood pressure as well as sugars, so that, everybody need not go to hospital and get themselves exposed. I think these are all value-added services. Fitness centers they're running. Catching street dogs, there is a separate team for that. So I think this kind of, innovative, practically useful things, I think should be supported by through extension. For that, the extension has to extend. ICT we have to use extensively. We have to support partnerships. In fact, today morning, I was just talking to Chief Postmaster General of Telangana, whether post offices can be used as effective extension delivery points. He says, yes, there is possibility. We have knowledge service centers located in villages. 1.5 lakh village knowledge service centers are there, managed by IT department. Agriculture financial institutions, milk cooperatives. It is used only for procurement of milk. Can we use for other agriculture activities, especially storage, aggregation, and processing, and working closely with farmers producers organizations, agripreneurs, agri startups, and input dealers and certified farm advisors is value addition to agriculture extension. And in saving farmer in COVID period is very, very important. So Manage launched Fight COVID and Save Farmer campaign, and as on date we have conducted around 280 awareness programs. We are working very closely with care hospitals in Hyderabad. 44,000 farmers, as a scientific social responsibility, they were created awareness about COVID. This is also one of the scientific social responsibility of agricultural extension. So large number of online programs also we conducted. So this is what I just wanted to share in my presentation, and now it is open for discussion.
Thank you, sir. Really, you have presented in depth knowledge and views regarding the topic. Now, I would like to invite the participants who have queries or doubt to interact with the speakers.
I think, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Chandrasekhar ji. So excellent presentations, and you have touched from the bottom to the top. And also, you made several, given the data also. That is really eye-opening for us to think in that direction. And at the same time, you have made a lot of points that really help us and also help our community, in the sense faculty to modify their extension, maybe models or the activities and other things. So you mentioned about the real-time extension. It is true. That is one thing. And also you made the market-led extension. Then the local, extension workers. This is most important thing, because ellargu onde mantra hakakagalla. This is where our extension functionary should think. For instance, for particular group, how we should, have the extension methods or the tools or the language, whatever it may be, because we are first get ourselves change to that situation, then we have to behave like themselves and inculcate the technology. This is most important thing which we have to. And anyhow, this brand you have mentioned, yes, actually we have the brand. For instance, Agriculture University, US, Bangalore means we have the brand. But how to encash this brand is most important, at which we have to work. Sir, actually, one thing I would like to mention here, we from our university, we would like to adopt one FPO for one KVK. This we have already made, already adopted that. So yes, you are the technical or the knowledge partner. We also become the knowledge partners for these FUOs. See that they from zero to launch, they should work like a corporate sector, and they should take all the this one is from us and they can execute. So as a result, and today that I expressed about the Mango, it is working wonderfully, sir. Actually, if this COVID was not there, in fact, we wanted to have the Mango Mela in our campus exclusively for those FUOs, so that I would like to show this is one of the best model which you can think how it works if you really mind. Because after seeing your, all the case studies and other things, you see the turnover, 30 crores, 40 crores, you see. That's what I want. I told my, all my KVK, they have taken 7 FUOs. That should be product based and also the district wise. So this is what actually message to my colleagues. How even if you turn this one FPO into a task, there will be so many people join this stream. So this is one thing which you really I liked it. The other one is really including in the midday meal, connecting this FPO in the midday meal, and also hostels. Really, Punjab Agriculture University, they have done a good job. So now I'm thinking how we can, link these, our, because we are serving almost 2,000, 3,000 students in the campus. Can we use this kind of things, which is one thing which we can?
In fact, I tried in Manage. Now we have linked with Sahaja Aharam. It's a local farmers producers organization. Otherwise, earlier we were purchasing from outside.
But, that's good. Yeah. So now I request our Director of Extension, so kindly think in this direction. At least we should follow first, then we can inculcate to the other.
I appreciate that, really.
So that I will try to inculcate. Then another one is you mentioned about our extension functionaries job chart has to be revisited. So this you have mentioned, because we cannot, as I mentioned in the beginning, they have to be fine-tuned. I think for which we may need some support from you, from the manage. Can you design some kind of training programs to train our extension workers how they should the job chart or something to be changed that way? I think that is one important point. So another example, lastly, given about the post office. We have made this with the FUOs. We have a tie-up with the post office. Per box, we have fixed the rates, and if they paid the money to this, they are delivering. So since last year, it is going on. For the marketing purpose, we are using this one as for the model. So that way, really, again the field. This one now. The field functionality, in the sense, even in Hyderabad, there are many people, they have become the field doctors, in the sense, agriculture doctors or agriculture service providers. They are earning a lot of money. They have undergone trainings like your institution and our institution. They have picked up, and they have the mobile and they have the WhatsApp and other things. Immediately they get the calls and go there. So this is also one of the things which, as you said, the public-private partnership is the one of the best thing which we can. As you said, everything we may not be able to address, but this is one area we can think, at least for this certain sector, the extension activities, we can. That is how the private sector is, successful in promoting their technologies as well as the varieties. So this is what we can take, or we can outsource for this kind of activities with respect to the extension functionaries. So this is really, thank you very much, sir. Actually, really made us to think in a big way and many things. And another thing which I really see, 31,000 have become the entrepreneur out of 70. That is more than 50% have become an entrepreneur. So we have the Agri Incubation Center at Purvin. It was started with only few. Today, it's a huge demand, and now many people are of those who have taken the become the incubatees. Now they are going out as an entrepreneur. So this also we need to link up and also scale up these activities. So this is what I learned from today's this one. So thank you, Dr. Saab. Really wonderful lecture. I think our youngsters are waiting to ask why I asked, give my remarks in the beginning. At least other people should also think and ask many questions to you.
Sir,
Yeah.
thank you, sir.
You must, Vice Chancellor, sir.
Sir, really, sir.
In fact, through this platform, I am meeting one of my classmates from Ethiopia,
Okay.
Elias Jeffro. He just sent a message.
Yeah.
Elias is there. I was, I visited Africa several times.
Okay.
I was,
good.
searching, asking everyone, where is Dr. Elias? But Elias is here. Thank you for creating this platform. I could
Thank
meet
you.
Elias Jeffro.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So I think my people will ask you many
Yes,
clarifications.
Yeah.
So now we have this Raway programs. So in this Raway programs, how really it is one of the model we are educating or teaching the students. In this Raway program, maybe some extension strategy can be modified and adapted or something like that, because what we get the feedback from the students, sometimes in 3 months, maybe because now there is a problem of a pandemic, and that's okay, but in the regular time, this 6 months, maybe they says more, sir, we sometimes, if it does coincide with the season, we feel not getting any much information. In that way, can you, because of based on your rich experience, can we fine tune this in the not only in Karnataka, no, in the entire country itself? Because now in the fifth deans committee, they are trying to the modifying in the next. So in that way, this is what the feedback. Some students said, sir, it is too much. Some students said it is short, and some students said, sir, we are not exposed to the large number of the crops. So that way, we are getting a lot of feedback. In this regard, do you have any suggestions for us to suggest some kind of fine-tuning the existing Raway program and also HOT programs?
If any agriculture student want to gain 100% knowledge in 4 years BSc Agriculture degree, it is not possible.
Yeah.
That truth we have to understand. So the university can show only the path.
Yeah.
And he has to walk in that path so that more and more information will, come. I studied coffee for half an hour in our 4 years program, but I spent 10 years in coffee board.
Yeah.
So actually, we learn actually what is coffee
Yeah.
action, what is coffee, and when we get into a particular crops. Therefore, actually the direction is very important rather than the collection of information.
Good.
The direction, the future direction, probably anything which we deals with the groups, farmers producers organization. If you can attach with a farmers producers organization, make a diagnostic study, what are their training needs, what strategy they have to adopt for marketing purpose, what kind of income generating activities can be introduced to that particular. So he should have a 360-degree understanding about these groups actually. So anything working with a group, probably to our students, that will be very useful. Second sector is the technology intensive. we are talking about startups, we are talking about IoT, blockchain technology, and artificial intelligence, and many more things. Now, internet, social media, WhatsApp, mass media. So, any choose an area of technology he can select and he can specialize in that. So we have to show them the path. Later he has to gather the dust. So that is his responsibility. So that technology, ICT application in agricultural extension is another important direction which he has to pass. The third one is agriculture to agripreneurship. So there are several enterprising activities are going on in agriculture. They are services are provided by maybe a commission agent, maybe a retailer, maybe a wholesale dealer, or maybe APMC, or by an exporter, or by a processor. So if they start working with these people who are dealing in agriculture marketing, they will come to know what exactly happens there and how easy it is for the farmers to adopt those practices. I think professionally, they will be in a position to give very practical suggestions to the farmers organization by working with very important players in agriculture value chain. That opportunity has to be created. And fourth one is, it is on public-private partnership. This is one important area which is not touched in agriculture education and even in the field also. There is a mental block between public and private service providers. So if we always keep on sending them to KVK, keep on sending them to Atma, keep on sending them to our agriculture officer, they will come to know only how public extension function. But once they go out, large number of varieties produced by private seed companies are used by our farmers. Entire pesticide is supplied by private pesticide industry. I think it is important for them to understand how these private extension service providers, how a TV channel functions, how agriculture content can be increased, how a radio station functions, how agriculture content can be increased, how an NGO functions, how agriculture income generating activity can be added to that. This, kind of enterprising ideas they get only when they work with those people. I think if our students sit with an input dealer and spend 1 week, help him in selling the seeds, fertilizer, pesticide 1 week, and they come in contact with 500 people, 500 farmers, and try to ask the same question, several questions, probably that experiential learning will be a great impact for these people.
True.
So this anything related to group or technology or public-private partnership or entrepreneurship, I think we have to put them in that track and they have to gain more experience in that track.
Thank you. It's a good point. Thank you.
Sir, may I ask a question, sir? So we don't have pedagogy in extension. Don't you think that, sir, this is the main reason behind, because Honorable Vice Chancellor sir was talking about the KVKs. So especially in KVKs, when we impart training programs, so we don't follow a particular extension pedagogy. Otherwise, we have a classification of the farmers into 5 groups, and beyond that, we stop there. So if we develop the pedagogy for different categories of different types of adopters, so then we can see the impact of that in a different way. And we need to customize the extension methodologies for different categories of farmers. So this is what I personally feel, especially when we talk from the point of view of Krishi Vigyan Kendras. And similarly, so we use, for example, the very popular method, what we are using is the lecture method. Beyond that lecture method, so there are some other extension techniques and technologies, but we are giving less attention to them. And these are some of the issues, I think, that the extension need to focus. So, sir, now over to you, sir, just for comments.
No, I fully agree with you, Dr. Jelly. See, the pedagogy has to be customized. That basic point I fully agree. The second one is experiential learning. It's not theoretical and all, because if you start explaining what is the scientific name of a particular crop, what kind of agroclimatic conditions are required for that. Anyway, these two things we cannot change. Whatever, when he goes back, he cannot change by this information. He cannot change the agroclimatic condition or agroecological situation where he is doing. Therefore, customizing all this knowledge into his working condition is very important. See, there, the empowered system, extension system plays very important role. This cannot be done by Agriculture University at Bangalore or Agriculture Ministry at Delhi. This has to be done by our own colleague who is an extension worker in that particular KVK or particular village. So empowering this institution and extension worker for providing location-specific real-time basis extension services, that plays very important role.
Sir, just you helped me, sir, in the way that under NASF, I applied for a project on the delineation of this customization of this particular process, and in the first round it is clear, and now I am preparing for the second round. Now your ideas are going to help me. So definitely I will make the contents here use in my presentation. Thank you, sir.
Sir, another point really which I would like to stress upon here, you mentioned about this Syngenta model.
Yeah.
It is like a consortium model. Actually, you are the capacity builders and you have made the seed money given by the Syngenta. At the same time, the IDBA bank you have, attached, and then license with the farmers, and finally the smart steps. So actually, unless you bring the different group of people in a one consortium, make this model, it will be a wonderful model which we can think of in our KVK or something like that. Because mere giving the trainings or the knowledge may not help them in a long run. Maybe for the short gain they will do it. So these kind of models also we can think of promoting on the basis of a particular theme based, not necessarily for all the activities. I think for the theme based we can think of such kind of models, I believe.
Yeah, that is very important, Vice Chancellor, sir. Otherwise, we think by giving training program we can produce results.
Yeah.
But after completing one training program, they start thinking about another training program.
Yes.
And we also start thinking about another training program.
Yeah.
So the training has become a job. The means has become, the end, unfortunately.
Yeah. So that's why what I wanted to stress for my colleagues here, when you organize such things, can we bring all these people in the group together and identify certain people, and everybody should get, this is my job, this is my job. So
yes,
jointly we want to have. So that way we must have some kind of program, focused program, at least for the few. I think that will be a successful venture, I believe.
Yeah, in fact, in spite of all these things, I could able to achieve only 50% success.
Yeah, true.
Because I could not control the local situations.
True.
There was a local competition with the input dealer. Anyway, I cannot stop input dealer business.
Yes.
So our boy failed in that particular village. So many things are there, but still 50%, Vice Chancellor, sir, is a very high success rate globally. If you take, especially entrepreneurship development in agriculture, it will not go beyond 3 to 15%.
You are true.
50% is extraordinary achievement.
True.
I think this consortium we can try.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, I have one question, sir. Clarification. Sir, we are talking about public-private partnership. We know the private extension agents or system have a better proximity to protect their markets. Hence, they are able to give better marketing information to the farmers compared to our system. I feel public-private partnership do exist, but it is not inculcated in the desired manner as such. Example, let us take. See, we are recommending some chemicals or compounds to farmers for control of pests and diseases. So we are bounded or by the university rules or whatever it is. We cannot recommend an improved chemical or a compound to farmers because it is not there in the package of practice. So that way, I feel there is no public-private partnership to the desired level. As a national organization, can you bring in some policies so that really the public-private partnership exists to the desired level?
See, I just take the example of the Hoshangabad model, which I designed actually and implemented for 3 years in Hoshangabad district in Madhya Pradesh. There we worked with the Dhanuka group of pesticide on one side, Agriculture Department Madhya Pradesh on other side. We worked out MOU between 19 activities, starting from sowing till marketing, 19 activities as part of our MOU, and we implemented it. We got good support from state agriculture department also. Here, the policy changes with respect to PPP promotion become very, very important. I would like to submit one thing before this August body. Government of India is very clear that we have to promote public-private partnership, and that broad guidelines are circulated to all the states also. Even in Atma, minimum 10% of the fund should be kept for public-private partnership. Minimum 10%. It can go up to 100% also, depending on the relative competency of the service providers. But agriculture is a state subject. What Karnataka agree may not be agreed by Tamil Nadu. So, at state level, public-private partnership policies. So, this is the public-private partnership is, we made some effort in Karnataka. I worked out some draft guidelines and all, but ultimately, it emerged as some kind of NGO support system. But that was not our intention. But what I am trying to tell is, state government has to bring this policy reforms with respect to public-private partnership, and a precaution has to be taken into consideration. By weakening the partner, we cannot provide a powerful service. By killing the partner, we cannot make the partnership successful. This win-win situation has to be inbuilt in the public-private partnership. Whenever public-led PPP models emerge, they are always pro-government. They want to control, they want to regulate. You don't create a very free atmosphere where the private person get equal recognition, equal responsibility, equal revenue. The partnership purpose is not to extract some money from agribusiness company. It is giving him an opportunity so that he work very closely with a public institution so that ultimately farmer get benefited. So can we work out that kind of models? There are universal guidelines of PPP, but those guidelines should be customized for a particular crop, particular place, particular partner. PPP model changes. We cannot work out one PPP model at national level, state level, and send a circular to all the people to implement that. Let us not do that mistake. It has to come from the bottom, but where the finishing touches are given at macro level.
Fine, sir. Even if it is at the state level, that should happen. I think then only, say our ultimate concern is farmer. So that should happen. What I mean.
See, yeah, university can, initiate any activity. Manage will be very happy to involve in that. Some kind of brainstorming. Why can't we involve all the private extension service providers? If farmer is prosperous, agribusiness company will be prosperous. So I think we can work out that kind of a win-win atmosphere.
So probably jointly with you, maybe we can organize one maybe webinar workshop type involving the private people. I request our HOD under the program shortly with your consultation from your group and also I'll find out some private sector, especially those who are good in extension functionaries. because there is a huge scope. Even sometimes we people from the government, we don't have a proper partnership between the public. Even to some extent, we actually have this public partnership. I think we can do a lot of things. I tried and I was a director at Mao. It's very difficult to bring them together. There's too much. So that's why we have one program, sir, and
I just give one example, the
yeah.
power of PPP, small example, but it worked wonders actually.
Okay.
When we worked out Hoshangabad model, I just saw the training cost norms. Training cost norms, maximum money went for lodging and boarding of the participants.
Okay.
And 2003, a honorarium of 150 rupees was kept for a resource person. So, what kind of resource person we will get for 150 rupees?
True.
The training without a good resource person, training is not lodging, training is not boarding, training is resource person where 150 rupees is kept. So what I thought in PPP, I asked Dhanuka Group, see, lodging boarding is provided by government, but honorarium money is not sufficient. I want more money for bringing best of the best resource person from state headquarters, from agriculture university, from wherever relevant ICR organization. His travel and his respectable honorarium will be met by agribusiness company. They said yes. Then we tried the lodging boarding of public and the resource person of private. It was a wonderful training program.
Good. Yeah, this is what we need.
This is what gap filling mode. Wherever gaps are there in public, no, it is very difficult to change the rule. We have to go with the present system. Yeah, wherever gaps are there, those gaps can be filled by private sector, so that public plus private, it can become a 360-degree solution provider.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Dr. C. Narayan Swamy, sir, Associate Professor, Department of Agriculture Extension, for deliverance of vote of thanks.
It is my privilege to propose vote of thanks for today's webinar, Rethinking Agriculture Extension in the name of farmers' income. Okay. I thank Dr. P. Chandrasekhara, Director General, Manage, Hyderabad, who is the guest speaker for today's webinar. Sir, you highlighted whole gamut of the extension domain, like only 25% of the produce value goes to the farmer, and location-specific extension methods are needful to address the current issues, and contract farming, which ensures win-win situation, and the new areas like exploiting the Anganwadis and marriage programs and government hostels, and market-led extension, and forward and backward linkages, attracting youth to remain in agriculture, and PPP models and FPOs and ICT. So these are some of the areas you highlighted for betterment of the whole gamut of the extension domain. Okay. So in behalf of University of Agriculture Sciences and behalf of Department of Agriculture Extension, I wholeheartedly thank you, sir, for spending your valuable time with us. I thank Dr. S. Rajendra Prasad, sir, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, University of Agriculture Sciences, Bangalore. So in his remarkable introductory remarks, he stressed the need for innovative extension methods to overcome the marketing issues. And also he stressed the need of the secondary agriculture, which is the need of the hour. So on behalf of the Department of Agriculture and Department University, I profusely thank you, sir, for being the part of this program. We know that morning 2 hours spent with us about the stress management program, and entire 2 hours you had been with us, sir. I sincerely thank you, sir.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
I thank Dr. B. Krishnamurthy, Professor and Head of the Department, and who is the instrumental in organizing this webinar in a befitting manner. I sincerely thank you, sir. I thank all extension fraternity from KVKs, colleges, research institutes, and postgraduate students and Department of Agriculture Extension. And I also thank Basuprabhu Jirli, Professor BHO, for participating and giving the input to the webinar. Okay. And also thank today's the facilitators Veena Bhushetti and Sakshi for today's webinar. Once again, thank one and all who have participated in this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Chandrasekhar, thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor, sir.